Hi, Ollie from Sierra Outdoor Survival, and we're up here in the Sequoias doing primitive shelter builds. This one's mine. Now, full disclosure, the materials I had to choose from were not the greatest quality. Seems like every branch and every pole that we could find up here was bent or fragile or cracked. The material selection was just horrible. So we made do with what we had. My shelter looks a little wonky, but again, my choices of materials were very slim. So here's what I did. I did a A-frame with an elevated bed, sort of a modified lean-to. I have reflective tarp on the back and on the roof, which helps direct my fire, the heat from my fire, into my shelter. My elevated bed is a couple poles with a canvas tarp stretched out over it. Okay, so to build this shelter, I took these poles and I simply lashed them together. Again, making an A-frame with running poles along either side. I then supported the roof with these poles and my guy lines utilizing a taut line hitch. I attached that taut line hitch to some very heavy stakes that I made. And the reason why I had to use such large diameter dowels was because, again, the material. If I would have utilized small stakes, they would have snapped. So I needed to go with bigger stakes. This just goes to show you the availability of materials that we had to choose from. And so the reason for using a taut line hitch is because it allows for adjustability. So by utilizing this, I can actually take some slack off and slide this down. Now when I want to make it tighter, by applying a little bit of pressure, you can actually tighten this and you can get a very tight line. Yeah. Another option for securing these guy lines is by utilizing a trucker's hitch. What a trucker's hitch allows us to do is, again, use that mechanical force to create a really tight line. We can then pinch it off here and secure it underneath. Let's talk about some of the pluses and minuses to this shelter. One of the pluses I found is it actually stayed very warm. I think it dropped down into the high 30s last night and I was just fine. Never really got cold, slept pretty comfortable. The negatives to this is, again, the material. Because these poles were so curvy, I couldn't get a flat lay. It made it hard to toss and turn, made it hard to get comfortable. But overall, this was a fine shelter. Even had some pretty weird dreams. So in conclusion, Overall, not a bad shelter, not a bad night's sleep. But again, you're going to have to utilize the materials that the landscape gives you. This selection was very poor, however, I made it work. I had a decent night's sleep, and in a survival situation, I would have been just fine. So, that being said, get out there and have an adventure. Go to our webpage, SierraOutdoorSurvival.com, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video.